The crystalline halls of the Xanthari diplomatic station gleamed under artificial starlight as Ambassador Elsie Chen straightened her formal uniform. Beside her, Commander Grant Morrison adjusted his ceremonial sidearm, his eyes scanning the assembled alien dignitaries with practiced vigilance. "Relax, Grant," Elsie murmured, a slight smile playing at her lips. "This is supposed to be a peace dinner." "That's what worries me," Grant replied, his jaw tight. "Peace dinners have a way of going sideways when humans are involved." The Xanthari Chancellor, a towering figure with iridescent scales and multiple optical sensors, gestured toward the banquet table. "Honored guests, please, be seated. Tonight we celebrate the accord between our peoples." Elsie took her place at the long table, Grant positioned strategically 2 seats away. The feast before them was a spectacular display of culinary artistry from a dozen worlds bioluminescent fruits from Kepler-4 Fatubi, crystallized proteins from the methane seas of Titan's colonies, and delicately prepared Xanthari blood kelp. Halfway through the third course, Elsie felt it, a subtle burning sensation spreading through her chest, the telltale metallic taste coating her tongue. Her enhanced neural implant immediately flagged the anomaly: Thyrixian venom, a paralytic toxin lethal to most carbon-based lifeforms within minutes. Grant's eyes met hers across the table. She gave him the slightest shake of her head, a signal they'd practiced countless times. "Not yet. Don't blow the operation." The Xanthari dignitary seated directly across from Elsie, Ambassador Vilkochi, watched her with predatory interest, his secondary eyes focused on her throat, waiting for the first signs of respiratory distress. Elsie continued eating. She speared another piece of the glazed Andromedan root vegetable, chewing slowly, deliberately. The venom coursed through her system, and she could feel her extremities beginning to tingle. Her heart rate was climbing, her implant registered 140 beats per minute and rising. Ambassador Chen Velkov said, his translator rendering his clicking speech into smooth English. "You appear flushed. Are you perhaps unwell?" Elsie swallowed her bite and reached for her glass of Centauri wine. "Just enjoying the meal, Ambassador. Your chefs are truly exceptional." She took a long drink, her hand steady despite the neurotoxin attacking her nervous system. What Velkov didn't know, what none of the assembled aliens knew, was that humanity had evolved on a death world. Earth, with its toxic oxygen atmosphere, crushing gravity, and nightmare fauna, had forged a species with remarkable biological resilience. Human liver enzymes could process compounds that would kill most sentient species instantly. Human immune systems were weapons of mass biological warfare, and Elsie Chen had grown up in the Australian outback, where she'd been bitten by everything from funnel web spiders to taipan snakes before her 10th birthday. Her liver wasn't just processing the Thyrixian venom, it was breaking it down into harmless metabolites and using the energy to fuel her adrenaline response. Grant had positioned himself perfectly. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hand rested casually near his weapon. He was ready. Elsie finished her wine and set the glass down with a soft clink. "You know, Ambassador, there's something fascinating about Thyrixian venom." The Xanthari's scales rippled, the equivalent of a human's eyes widening in surprise. "The molecular structure is quite elegant," Elsie continued, her voice conversational as she reached for another helping of the blood. "A neuroparalytic that attacks the diaphragm, causing asphyxiation. Fatal to most species within 3 to 5 minutes. She checked her chrono. "I'd say about 4 minutes have passed since you poisoned my drink during the toast." The table fell silent. Chancellor's optical sensors swiveled between Elsie and Velkoth. "Preposterous accusations," Velkoth began, but Elsie interrupted him. "The problem with assassinating a human ambassador is that we're what the galaxy likes to call unreasonably durable. Our planet tried to kill us for millions of years. Venoms, toxins, pathogens, we survived them all." She stood slowly, her movements fluid and controlled. "We didn't just survive them, we got stronger." Velkoth's hand moved toward a concealed weapon, but Grant was faster. The commander's stunner was drawn and fired before the assassin could clear his holster, but Velkoth had anticipated resistance. His personal shield flared, absorbing the energy blast. In the chaos that followed, Velkoth activated a hidden blade, lunging across the table at Elsie with surprising speed. The other diplomats scattered, alarms began to wail, and security protocols engaged, sealing the dining hall. Elsie sidestepped the first strike, her neurology still firing on all cylinders despite the venom that should have killed her minutes ago. She caught Velkov's wrist mid-thrust, her grip iron strong, and drove her other palm into his thorax with calculated precision. The Xanthari's exoskeleton cracked under the impact. Humans might be fragile by some standards, but their striking power, generated by dense muscle and reinforced bones, was devastating. Grant moved in from the flank, but Elsie shook her head. "I've got this." Velkoth struggled, his strength considerable but unfocused. Elsie swept his legs, a basic judo technique, but effective. As he fell, she controlled his descent, pinning him to the floor with a knee on his primary respiratory spiracle. "Here's the thing about trying to poison a human at dinner," Elsie said, her voice cold. "We consider it terribly rude to waste good food." She applied pressure, not enough to kill, but enough to incapacitate. Zenthari security forces burst through the sealed doors moments later, weapons drawn. The Chancellor approached slowly, his scales displaying patterns of shock and confusion. "Ambassador Shung, you were poisoned. I witnessed it. How are you? Still alive?" Elsie finished, releasing Velkoth to the security team. "It's what we do, Chancellor. Humans are persistent predators. We don't give up. We don't die easy." She brushed off her uniform and returned to her seat at the table. "Now, I believe we were in the middle of negotiations." Grant allowed himself a small smile as he holstered his weapon. The other diplomats slowly returned to the table, eyeing Elsie with a mixture of fear and newfound respect. As the medical team arrived to treat Velkoth and take him into custody, Elsie calmly finished the last of her dessert, a delicate Andromedan honeycrystal confection. The venom had been fully metabolized now, her system returning to baseline. Her implant registered her heart rate dropping back to a steady 72 beats per minute. The galaxy had tried to poison humanity before, in 1,000 different ways. It had never worked, and it wouldn't start working now. "Shall we continue with the peace accords?" Elsie asked, dabbing her lips with her napkin. "I find that I'm still quite hungry." The Chancellor's translator struggled to render his response, but the tone was clear: respect, tinged with a healthy dose of terror. Humanity had just reminded the galaxy why they were never to be underestimated and why you never, ever interrupted a human's dinner. The end.